Welcome back. Some very big changes are happening right now in the US housing market. So for example, the share of price reductions is at least a 5-year high for early May, and housing inventory is up by over 30% from a year ago, the biggest year-over-year gain since April of 2023. In addition, we're seeing a lot of houses being listed for sale, much more so compared to pre-COVID levels. So for example, January through April this year, inventory on a national level has increased by 10%. This is more than double the average increase of 4% that we saw in January through April of 2017 through 2019. Therefore, housing inventory is growing much faster this year compared to pre-pandemic levels. I have a lot to share in today's video. Before I jump into today's video, please like and subscribe. I post frequent housing market updates so you guys can be more informed. Also, if you guys want a real estate agent referral, check out my new website, which is realestateteamfinder.com. With that said, let's begin today's video. I appreciate you. So this is a weekly video I make for you guys based on my own analysis of Realtor.com's latest data. They post a housing market update every Thursday. And just like my previous videos, I did not even read their analysis. Instead, go to realtor.com/research/data. Click on this link right here. And by the way, if you guys do read their analysis, please let me know in the comments below whether my analysis agrees to theirs. I never read theirs. Anyways, here is their data that I am going to be analyzing in today's video. So let's go ahead and get nerdy. So the week ended May 11th, asking prices were flat compared to 1 year ago. And by the way, I'm going to talk about asking prices, inventory levels, new listings, days on market, and also price reductions as well in today's video. So asking prices were flat year over year, and they have been relatively flat ever since February this year. We're seeing stagnant year-over-year price growth of asking prices due to a significant rise of inventory levels, like I'll explain here in just a little bit. On top of that, we have elevated rates as well. Rates have been coming down from the 7.5% rates we had to start this month in May, and now they're down to around 7%, but they're still relatively high, especially when you account for the fact that home prices are still high as well. Okay, let's talk about inventory levels, some big changes here. So inventory last week rose by 35% compared to the same week of 2023. That, by the way, was the biggest year-over-year increase since April of 2023. There's also been more houses for sale on a national level compared to last year for the past 27 consecutive weeks. So inventory has been rising from last year ever since mid-November last year. This, of course, gives more options for home buyers, which of course limits home price growth as well. In my opinion, inventory has been on the rise due to two main reasons. This is due to lackluster home buying demand, but more importantly probably is a significant rise in the number of newly listed houses that's been happening for quite some time as well. I'll share an update regarding new listings here in a little bit, but first I want to share another source of data regarding inventory levels. And this is according to altosresearch.com. So 1 year ago, they reported that we have approximately 421,000 existing houses for sale on a national level. Now it has increased by 35%. Now we're at 568,000. So we have approximately 147,000 more homes for sale right now compared to 2023 at this time. What's also interesting about this is that inventory has been rising faster compared to last year, but on top of that, also much faster compared to 2017 through 2019. So for example, approximately 2 months ago, inventory was increasing by about 24%, according to altosresearch.com. Now it's up by 35%. There's also approximately 69,000 more houses for sale in mid-May compared to the start this year. So far, we're up by 14% year to date. Compare this to the same time frame in 2023, night and day difference. Inventory was decreasing since early January 2023 to approximately May and April last year. So inventory overall from January through mid-May last year was down 11%, whereas this year we're seeing an increase up by 14%. So in other words, supply was falling last year, whereas this year, supply is actually increasing. Also, as I mentioned at the very beginning of this video, inventory is also rising much faster year to date so far this year compared to pre-COVID levels. So for example, inventory has increased by 10% from January through April this year. Compare that to the same time frame in 2017, 18, and 19. The average increase from January to April is only an increase of 4%. So inventory rising about twice as fast compared to pre-COVID levels. And by the way, I'll have an update for you guys regarding inventory levels according to Realtor.com for the month of May. I'll report that probably in early June. We'll have to see if this sharp increase of inventory levels it continues, because that'll be a recipe for slowing home price growth in the months ahead. In regards to that, let's also take a look at new listings, because again, inventory levels is increasing due to decreasing in demand, but also due to a rise in the number of newly listed houses. Last week, we saw a 6.6% gain in new listings compared to the same week of 2023. Excluding the Easter holiday week, which was about, a month ago, new listings have been higher than last year for the same time frame for the past 29 weeks in a row. However, the gains are actually losing momentum over the past several weeks. So right now we're up by 6.6, last week up by 3.6, but back in March, we were seeing gains in the range of 15 to 18%. So we're seeing inventory rising, but not rising as fast compared to March, for example. Okay, let's change gears slightly here and talk about how fast or how slow houses are selling nationwide right now. Last week, it actually took 1 day longer to sell a house compared to the same time frame 12 months ago. But frankly, over the past month or so, we haven't been seeing a whole lot of changes. Days in the market has been fluctuating in a range of 2 days faster to about 1 day slower ever since really early March of this year. A friendly reminder though, this column right here is a lagging indicator because this is based on a closed home sale. Also, let's have a look at the increase in the number of reduced price listings, because that increased by 51% year over year. So we have approximately 51% more price reductions last week compared to 12 months ago. The number of price reductions has also been increasing for the past 16 consecutive weeks as well. Again, this is probably due to a significant increase in the number of newly listed houses and also active listing inventory as well. Okay, let's have a look at altosresearch.com regarding inventory levels, and then also look at the share of price drops as well. So inventory right now, we have approximately 568,000 houses for sale. This is a 3-year high during the same time frame, because last year, again, we had approximately 421,000. Right now, 568,000. This is much higher compared to 2022 at 313,000, 2021, and also at 313,000 as well. But right now, I can't talk, at 568,000, this is still well below 2020 at 722,000 and 2019 at 929,000. Now, because we don't need to see inventory rise to pre-pandemic levels, nor see home prices decrease, that's what happened in 2022, I'm going to be focusing more so on the rate of increases because that is going to determine, in my opinion, the direction of our housing market, because that's exactly what happened in 2022, where inventory levels absolutely started skyrocketing in May. And then we all know what happened with the home prices at the end of the year. So make sure you're subscribed to the channel. I'll definitely keep posted regarding that in future videos. In regards to the share of price drops, according to altosresearch.com, we're at least a 5-year high during the same time frame. The share of price drops at approximately 34%. This is higher than last year at approximately 30%, 2022 at 22% or 21%, 2021 at 16%, 24% in 2020, and looking at pre-COVID levels back in 2019, we were at 31%. Something I found to be really interesting is the dynamics, what's happening this year compared to last year, because the trough regarding the share of price drops was more or less in mid-February this year. Back in 2023, the trough was in late April. So our trough was actually much earlier compared to last year. And the share price drops has been increasing ever since late February. Whereas last year, the share price drops didn't start increasing until we hit May. Also, just eyeballing this as well, the share price drops has been rising much faster this year compared to last year, of course, at this time as well. And again, this is an early sign of home buying demand, because if we start seeing the share price drops, basically skyrocketing, that will cause inventory, you would assume, to rise, especially if we continue to see a rise in the number of newly listed houses as well. All right, that was a lot of information to go over in today's video. So here's a summary for you guys. Number one, asking prices have been relatively flat ever since February this year. This is likely due to an increase of housing inventory up by 35%, more price reductions, and elevated mortgage rates. Number two, housing inventory increased by 35% last week, the biggest year-over-year increase since April of 2023. This is likely from lackluster home sales and new listings increasing from last November. However, even though the number of new listings has been on the rise, there's still approximately 39% fewer houses for sale right now compared to 2019's levels. Number three, we didn't really talk about this so much in today's video, but I talk about it pretty frequently. Average 30-year fixed mortgage rates have decreased by about 1 percentage point since October of 2023. Back then, the average rate was around 8%, and right now on Thursday, the average rate is around 7% for a 30-year fix for people with great credit. But because approximately 89% of people who have a loan on their house have a rate below 6%, that's based on data from Redfin, that has been limiting the amount of people listing their houses for sale, and thus keeping inventory well below 2019's levels. And again, of course, we don't need to see inventory rise above 2018 or 2019 levels in order to see home prices decrease. That's what we saw in 2022. Number four, the share of price drops is at least a 5-year high during the same time frame, but still well below the peak that was set back in late 2022. One thing I should mention is that the share of price drops does have seasonality to it, though, right? Because the share price drops tends to peak in the late fall and early winter months. And right now we're basically in the spring home buying season. We tend to not see a huge increase in the share of price drops at this time of the year. So it's not abnormal to see the share at 33% right now, whereas the peak was set back in November of 2022 at 43%. We are starting the year at a much higher rate though, because we started the year at, approximately 33%. And we started the year in 2022 at only 23%. All right, number five, last week, houses on average sold 1 day longer compared to last year. Again, that's a lagging indicator of our housing market. So what are some potential huge changes ahead? And again, I am not a real estate market fortune teller. Number one, average 30-year fixed rates are at approximately a month and a half low right now, the lowest rates we've had going back to early April this year. But housing affordability is very close to all-time record lows due to the elevated rates and home prices, of course. Housing affordability is, of course, a huge hurdle. We've had home prices increase by 40%. And of course, rates more than doubled in 2022. And number three, the housing market is ever changing, and this year is no exception. The most recent stats we have from the MBA show that purchase applications for mortgages have decreased by 14% year over year. That's for the week ended May 10th this year. Also, the National Association of Realtors reported that pending home sales for March were flat compared to March of 2023, which is much different compared to sales of brand new houses. So sales have increased by 8% year over year for that same time frame. Home builders are offering closing cost credits, lower rates, and free builder upgrades in order to entice home buyers to place offers on their houses. And by the way, I'll have an update for you guys regarding new home sales, I believe next week, as well as the National Association of Realtors we'll report pending home sales in late May this year as well. And I'll make a video about that once that gets published. One thing to note is that real estate is local. So the stats I'm sharing in today's video may not pertain to your neck of the woods. We're just looking at average stats on a national level. Number 4, the direction of our U.S. housing market will depend on unemployment, mortgage rates, and also the rate of change of inventory levels, and of course, the balance between supply and demand. Number 5, the most important one, I appreciate you guys so much for watching today's video, and of course, for supporting my YouTube channel. If you guys get any value of today's video, please hit the like button. Also, consider subscribing as well. Also, if you guys want a real estate agent referral, check out my website, which is realestateteamfinder.com. Hope you guys have an awesome day and look forward to seeing you on the next video.